You must obey the HOA or else!
Funny, I'm the sheriff.
The fake HOA cop pointed a gun at a black woman, hoping to scare her into compliance. But what he didn't know was the black woman he just pointed a gun at wasn't an ordinary homeowner, and he was about to find out who she really was. The day the black family moved into Ridgway Falls, the sun hit the windows like a welcome, but the people didn't. A black family unloading boxes should have been the most normal sight in the world, but the way curtains twitched told a different story. Neighbors didn't wave. They observed. Quiet, calculating, like they were waiting to see what kind of family dared to buy the beige house on the corner. She noticed it, of course, but didn't react. Sheriff Zara Hendricks had learned long ago that silence exposes more truth than arguments ever could. Her husband, Devin Hendricks, unpacked the TV in the living room while their daughter Mila explored the backyard with a butterfly net. No drama, no tension inside the home, just peace. The first violation came less than 48 hours later. A bright orange slip slapped across the mailbox like a threat, printed with a crooked little badge at the top, Notice of Non-Compliance. Mailbox design out of regulation standard correct within 72 hours to avoid citation. No phone number, no office address, just a stamped logo that read Ridgway Community Security Board. It looked official in the same way a Halloween badge looks official in bad lighting. Zara read it once, then again. Then she opened the deed binder sitting on the kitchen counter and flipped to the page she already knew by heart. This property is not subject to any active HOA. She didn't even sigh, just slid the notice under a coaster and made tea. 2 days later, another slip. Vehicle violation, improper parking formation, $125 fine. Repeat non-compliance will result in escalation. Escalation. The SUV was parked dead center in her own driveway. Devin raised an eyebrow. So, we ignoring this too? We know this isn't real, she said calmly, stirring honey into her mug. If someone pretends to be an authority, ignoring them is the fastest way to starve their ego. The doorbell started the pattern. 3 sharp knocks, then a pause, then more. Someone waited outside, clipboard ready, pretending to be official. Zara didn't even get up. They stayed behind the blinds until the knocking got weaker, then stopped. The footsteps retreated, frustrated. The orange papers kept coming, taped to the door, stuffed under the mat, even mailed once. She saved none of them. It wasn't fear. It was strategy. Because while the fake security board watched her house like prey, they never realized the truth. They weren't bullying an ordinary family. They were trying to intimidate the sheriff of the county herself, without having a clue who she was. The fake authority thought silence meant weakness. They watched the house every day from parked SUVs with neighborhood safety magnets slapped on the doors. Cheap radios clipped to cheap belts, sunglasses, stiff posture, the whole bargain bin intimidation package. They expected fear. Instead, they got a woman watering her roses like she didn't even notice them. That alone drove them insane. After 2 weeks of unanswered violations and unanswered knocks, the board members started whispering among themselves near the mailboxes, glancing at her windows like predators circling a lion without realizing it's a lion. Their patience snapped the moment Zara stepped out alone one warm afternoon, wearing boots and a quiet smile, strolling toward the walking trail behind the community. To them, that looked like opportunity. One man followed, a stocky guy, fake badge pinned crooked to his polo. Trent Rollins kept just close enough to look accidental, then finally sped up and blocked the path ahead of her. She stopped peacefully, one hand resting on her hip, chin tilted with curiosity rather than fear. "You've been ignoring official violations," he barked, waving a stack of orange slips like a weapon. "Mailbox, parking, yard compliance. You think we don't track this? You've had multiple notices." She looked down at the papers, then back at him, expression flat as stone. "We ignored them," she said, voice soft but sharp, "because we know you don't have authority. There isn't even an HOA here." The words landed like a slap. His face flushed red. "You think you can just ignore compliance officers," he shouted, stepping closer. "This community has rules. You follow them, either peacefully," he reached behind his back, "or by force." Zara didn't move. Not an inch. He pulled a gun, not a warning, not a bluff. A muzzle pointed straight between her eyes. "Let's see you ignore this now," he hissed. "Comply." Have you ever seen fake authority try to bully a real sheriff? What would you do if a man with a plastic badge shoved a weapon in your face, thinking you were powerless? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. If you believe pointing a gun at the sheriff is the dumbest mistake on earth, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc. A bird called from a pine branch overhead. Wind stirred the leaves. Zara's heartbeat didn't change. You just made the biggest mistake of your life, she said calmly. Pointing a gun at a sheriff. He blinked twice, then laughed like she was insane. A sheriff? Yeah, right. You wish. Then it happened. Her right hand moved, one clean blur. She twisted the pistol out of his grip before his brain could react. Now his hands were empty. The gun was in her hand, pointed straight at him. Perfect stance. Perfect control. For a full 5 seconds, he just stood there, mouth open, hands frozen midair like he'd been paused by a remote. His brain was still catching up to the fact that the weapon he'd been so sure of was no longer his. The fear didn't hit slowly. It hit all at once, like falling through ice. His confidence shattered. The gun was in Zara's hand now, held steadier than he'd ever held anything in his life. Turn around, she said quietly. Not shouted, not barked. Just spoken, with the weight of someone who expects obedience. His instinct was to argue, to scream, to reach for bravado again, but something in her eyes killed the impulse before it formed. He turned, slowly, stiffly, like a man walking into his own confession. Zara lifted the radio clipped inside her jacket, pressed her thumb to the button. Dispatch, this is Sheriff Zara Hendricks, she said, voice clean and calm. I'm at Ridgway Falls Trail. I have one suspect detained for armed criminal intimidation and impersonation of law enforcement. Send units to my location. The silence on the line lasted half a second, shock registering on the other side. Then, copy, Sheriff. Units inbound. ETA 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a lifetime when your spine is locked with fear. The man's voice cracked. You're lying. There's no way. If you were sheriff, we would have known. Someone would have warned us. You've been watching a black family, she replied, stepping backward to keep distance, and assumed we were powerless. You never bothered to learn who we are. His shoulders sagged like the truth snapped his bones. 2 minutes later, tires rolled across gravel. Real cruisers, real deputies, no fake badges, no costume store radios. The kind of presence that turns intimidation into regret. Deputy Ivy Merritt jumped out first, hand already on her holster until she registered the scene. Ma'am! It's handled, Zara said. She lowered the weapon and passed it grip first to Merritt. Secure him. He has accomplices operating under a fake HOA structure. The deputies swarmed with professional efficiency. Wrist restraints, search, rights read. The man stammered every step. When they lifted him into the cruiser, the dam finally broke. I didn't plan it, he yelled through the open door. It wasn't my idea. The others, Mason Fleck, Ryan Croft, Chad Warner, they're running everything. They told us it was legit. He wasn't just talking. He was naming names. Snitching wasn't loyalty or courage. It was survival. And Zara let him speak. Every word was a door opening. The moment the cruiser door slammed shut, the neighborhood changed, even if nobody else knew it yet. His confession wasn't a crack in their plan. It was a floodgate. Within 2 hours, 3 patrol units rolled through Ridgway Falls. Real deputies walked up driveways, knocking with authority the fake board could only pretend to have. And one by one, the imposters folded. They found fake badges in kitchen drawers, laminated ID cards printed on cheap cardstock, clipboards full of violations written like scripture by people who had no power beyond their ego. Worse, they found money, thousands in fines collected from residents too polite or too scared to challenge the theater being acted out on their doorsteps. Deputy Merritt gave Zara the breakdown beside her cruiser. Mason Fleck's computer shows a PayPal account tied to ridgewaysafety.org. 32 grand in the last 6 months, all labeled compliance dues. Zara just nodded. She'd seen fraud rings bigger than this, but never so petty, so suburban, so cruelly small. Extortion, distortion, disguised as community guidelines. That was a new level of pathetic. By sunset, 6 arrests had been made. 3 of the fake board members, 2 of their enforcers, and 1 guy who had been running the violation printer out of his garage like a counterfeit badge factory. They didn't resist. They didn't fight. They just stared at the ground, realizing the game ended the second they pointed a weapon at a woman they assumed was powerless. They assumed wrong. If you believe fake power always gets exposed the moment real authority walks into the room, smash that like and subscribe to Story Arc for more powerful stories.